Midweek Report. I did it again. I gave us the wrong name. Midweek Gaming. I'm gonna get it right eventually. I pushed for the name change, and then I can't even bloody remember we made the name change.
Yes.
Anyways, welcome to the Midweek Gaming. I'm Nick. Over there on the other side of the columns is Justin providing his gameplay of Destiny 2 Lightfall, which is the topic of this video. So, Lightfall. Yikes. But before we begin, actually, let me start off with some disclaimers as to what we're going to be talking about this episode. We are going to be talking about the Lightfall campaign. We are not going to get into spoilers. This is going to be our opinions as to how it played out. We might talk about our opinions of some things of the campaign, like in general. We won't give you any story spoilers though, so no boss fight details, no this, no that. Or at least I think we can agree to not say that, right?
Yeah, that's. I'll say this for what it is. Real quick, if you've completed the campaign, you are going to see something on the main menu, which is the reason why I am in the strike playlist immediately and starting strikes only. So, I am doing so as to not particularly spoil something. It does
Unless those are the new strikes.
Like, I will
Unless
say
it's the new strike playlist.
Well, even if I get the new strike, nobody's gonna really know what the fuck's going on, and even I didn't know what the like, I'll be honest, playing the campaign and suddenly being told, go do the strike, I go do the strike, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck does this have to do with the campaign?
Alright, let's try not to get ourselves demonetized too quickly now.
We don't get demonetized.
Well, I don't want to risk it. Don't want to risk it, but you get the point.
Yes.
But generally, yeah, that's the flow we're going to take. We are also going to present a theory near the midpoint to the end as to at least my opinion that I've been sitting on for a week as to how exactly, why the story of Lightfall is like this, combined with theories, rumors, as well as a... Oh! Shoot! Did you put in that in the description, Justin? The video I sent?
No, I did not. I can add that
Oh, crud. Yeah, that'll be...
posted as a video no matter what, so don't worry about it.
This is us figuring out issues. As always, we are live, so we figure stuff out on the fly. But yeah, no, the two articles I sent you last time. Yeah, no, the two articles I sent you last time, put those in. The one from Forbes and GameRant. It's basically above what you sent me, the Forbes one and then the GameRant one. They're basically on top of each other. They're before the last thing you sent me. Yeah, put those two.
There you go.
Alright, there we go. So, yeah, no, these are mixed of those as well as everything else. Again, it'll be interesting because, like I said, we'll give our opinions, but let's be honest, if you played the Lightfall campaign, half of what we're going to say you probably have heard 1,000 times anyway, but hey, it's worth saying again. Plus, like I said, our own theories to how it worked out that way. But again, on to the video. So, Lightfall. Let's start off with Justin's opinion since he's playing it right now. Thoughts?
I'll say this for what it is. Campaign on its own was pretty good, like for its own side story and everything. Like it's the story you have within the city and everything. That was fun. Overall arching story though, on the other hand, like if it actually added anything or not, honestly just makes you feel lost. So,
it really is a chase of follow the MacGuffin.
Yeah. So, like I said, on its own, it wasn't all that bad, but in the situation that it is, so, yeah. But gameplay-wise, actually, pretty well, like things that have been added and new stuff last Strand, for the most part, in my opinion, aren't actually that bad. Yeah, Strand, for me, has been pretty nice to play around with, campaign and out of the campaign. And, I mean, I've got a little more build crafting to do with it, because there is a build that I'm going to do, but I don't have everything unlocked yet, so I can't really do anything with it. But, my initial opinion on Strand is, of course, I'm playing with multi-stasis right now.
It says a lot. It's great. I'll play with the other stuff less.
Well, no, I wanted to immediately start demonstrating new additions to the game, that being the loadouts and stuff, which I showed for a brief moment there, and then we'll be showing again next straight.
Fair enough.
there's a fair amount that you can do with Strand. Strand for Hunter, though, is mostly revolving around your grapple ability, which isn't all too bad, but you have a melee ability, and the melee ability, like, you saw how much damage my melee ability with Stasis did there. Strand does, like, not even half of that, so...
Yeah, at least for Hunter.
For Honor. I don't know what it is for Warlock or Titan, but for Honor, Strand melee is like, let me just love tap you real quick.
Oh then. I suppose that brings me to my opinions. Honestly, narratively, I agree. The story leaves you feeling like, find this thing, find this thing, find this thing, and by the end you're like, so what was the thing? Like, you have no idea where you are. There have been people who've been saying, actually, that the first cutscene and the last cutscene of the campaign, I will say this because this isn't spoiler, it's just opinions. But people are saying that you could take the first cutscene of the campaign and the last cutscene, you duct tape them together, and narratively it would be in the exact same place.
Yeah.
So, and again, I'll go into my theories later as to why I believe that is, but that's for later. When it comes to story, though, yeah, again, like I said, yikes. We'll go into the details later, like I said, though. Gameplay-wise, though, I agree with Justin. Gameplay, and I think a lot of people, from what I hear, also agree with this, is that it's, gameplay-wise, it's a very solid thing to play as. It's still fun to play, don't get me wrong. They haven't backtracked at all in that step.
Like, they haven't really particularly changed anything too fundamentally, but the things that they have changed, they've basically made improvements with.
I mean, they made the game harder, and depending on where you'll sit on that ladder will depend on your opinion there, but gameplay-wise, as far as the expansion is concerned, it's still very fun to play. Strand, in my opinion, is very fun to play, though I will agree with most of the crowd when I say that in-campaign Strand and out-of-campaign Strand are two very different experiences, and they really need to maybe buff or change up how Strand works in that regard, especially when it comes to, like, the 3-charge melee. It just takes too long for that thing to be viable as a 3-charge. And again, I mean, Justin mentioned the grapple.
I'll say this, but I think the 3-charge is just a new thing, because for Hunters, we only have 2-charge.
Oh, no, melee, I meant.
Oh, melee. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no.
We only have one.
I don't... Okay, that might just be a hunter, or a warlock thing for 3-charge. But I mean, when it comes to the...
what your melee does, so...
Mine's like a throwing needle.
That's literally mine.
Yours is a throwing needle, but you catch it and it bounces between enemies. Mine is kind of like a Scarlet Witch thing, where you do like hand movements and it throws like a needle at each different enemy.
So really, in more ways than one, Strand melee abilities basically stays as melee ability, but worse.
Not really. It depends.
Well, no,
but
no, it literally does the same thing. It bounces between enemy to enemy.
Oh, you mean for Hunter?
Yeah, for Hunter.
Maybe.
Like,
I mean, you can't catch the stasis one, though.
No, you can't, but you can't reuse the Strand one half the time. Well, I've never really been able to reuse the Strand one.
Oh, okay, that might go into what I said about the buffs. Yeah. That might go into what I've said about the buffs, though. When it comes to grenades, I rarely run grenade. When it comes to the grappling hook, I rarely run the grappling, except for when I'm fooling around. I've been playing with it a little bit more. Honestly, it's not bad, but it really needs to be retooled for it to be more viable as a traversal tool, and in some ways just as a grenade in general. Like, I get what they were trying to do, making it a grenade. That way it's more simpler to use, simpler to code, etc., etc. Plus it gets rid of the whole spamming aspect, which, if you've seen some Hunter videos, has still managed to be spammed, but you have to build specifically into the grenade. But all in all, like, I can see what they did, I just don't think it practically works all that well. They really need to revisit the grapple specifically, if nothing else. But yeah, no, that's overall my thoughts on the campaign as a whole, Strand and whatnot. I do agree that they focused on the whole Strand aspect way too much, and again, that plays into the theory, which, if we have nothing else to say, I can touch on now.
Yeah,
unless you have anything else you want to add.
I don't really particularly have anything to say. All I'll say is
What about the end of times? What do you think about that? Actually, we'll touch on that maybe real quick.
On the what?
As an overall change. like Season of Defiance. Let's overarching touch on that maybe real quick.
In all honesty, I haven't even started the first mission. I've technically did
Ah.
the first quote-unquote cutscene where you're talking to the people, but I haven't officially done it yet, so I'm not gonna comment on that one yet.
Fair enough. If you're not gonna
I
comment.
already have an idea about what's going on in the story. Yeah,
Fair enough. If you're not gonna
I
comment.
haven't even played yet.
Fair enough. And if you won't, then I won't. Out of
Well, no,
solidarity.
you can. I'm okay with you.
Alright. Season of Defiance, honestly, generally feels the same as Lightfall. It doesn't feel as fillery, and I will agree on people like Tassie who say that the story of Defiance is actually a bit better than better than the campaign. It is more interesting. There is actually a scene in the very first kind of beginning with Crow and Amanda where they have a reunion, and Crow is promptly shot by Amanda by accident, but still shot. But honestly, it's an interesting campaign, or it's an interesting season. I'll be interested to see how it continues playing out. It's basically just dealing with the aftermath of the whole business on Earth, where the Witness came to Earth and is doing stuff, and now we have to go rescue our pilots because the first mission was a massacre. I think I can say that without spoilers because it's pretty heavily handed told to us. Yeah. The Witness just comes and is like, no.
I'll let Zavala know of your exemplary work.
Like, oh god.
The Cabal will be
Oh god, we're screwed. The Witness basically just bisects three Guardians.
Get out of there.
Yeah. The Witness essentially in the first battle chops three Guardians up with essentially the equivalent of a hand flick, so...
Also, quick side note, those three Guardians are believed to be the same Guardians in,
the original D1 trailers. Yep.
Yeah. So everyone's
all these years.
Oh god.
Ah, well. Something had to do with it eventually, I guess.
Yes. Also, this is the commendations. This is what it looks like. For anyone who's played Overwatch, it honestly feels the same.
What, for the end mission commendations?
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me, before we get into the theory, I have a weird point I want to touch on, just on a side note.
Yes.
I played my campaign purely on the PS5 for the most part because I've not yet bought it for PC, though I plan to, just later. When you try to open up the commendation section, on the PS5 version at least, and I find this, twice in a row I've done it, and twice it has crashed the game.
What do you mean?
You try to open up the commendation section in the Journey tab, in the UI section where they store all the commendations, right?
Yeah.
And it shows you, I believe, where you've all the commendations you've gotten, and doing so will crash the game, legit.
Okay, well I'm
twice
right
now it has done
it's
that.
not crashed.
Yeah, no, I think, like I said, that's a PS5 thing, I think, though. And I limit it specifically to PS5 because technically the PS4 and Vive version are different, technically.
Yes.
So it might just be a PS5 glitch. But Bungie, if you ever hear this, fix it. Twice my game has crashed. It's a good thing I wasn't in any mission. I was just sitting in orbit when I was looking. Otherwise, that might have been an issue.
I would have been depresso.
And I vowed never to do that again until I've heard it gotten fixed. But regardless, on to the theory. So, as we mentioned, the story of Lightfall isn't exactly the strongest. And again, if you've heard the stories and you've heard the rumors and you've heard everyone's opinions, generally that's basically the gist of it. But everyone's been talking about, how shocked they are about it, but they've never really thought about, the why, essentially. Everyone's just shocked as to how this happened. And I have kind of a theory as to how Lightfall turned out the way it did, narratively speaking. And it's quite an interesting one. I've sat on this one for at least a week, and there was actually an article Game Rant released, weirdly enough, a few days after I conceived of this theory, that essentially kind of maybe confirms what I've been saying. We'll never know for sure, because I'm sure Bungie will never officially come out and say one way or the other, but according to this leak by Game Rant, again, link in the description, what happened was... and again, this coincides with my theory, so I won't really explain the theory. It's just kind of essentially similar to what is said in Game Rant, but I'll expand on it with my theory in a minute. But what happened was essentially, Lightfall feels like filler because that's how Bungie designed it. Basically, the shtick is this. Lightfall was meant to have a lot of things, but narratively, some point along the line of, way back before Witch Queen was developed, the original roadmap was this: Beyond Light, Witch Queen, Lightfall, done. That'd be the end of the Light and Darkness saga. But what happened was, somewhere along the development of Witch Queen, the narrative team went to Bungie and said, we cannot finish the story to where we want it to be in the time frame we have. We need more time. So Bungie said, okay, fine, we'll revise the schedule, and we'll tack another expansion onto the end where we'll really tie up everything. And they said, fine. At the time, this manifested with Bungie coming out during the end of Witch Queen development being like, surprise, there's actually one more expansion called Final Shape. At the time, everyone really never considered the possibility as to why that all happened, as far as I know, because everyone was just kind of lore-gasming over the fact that, you know, Final Shape, which is a big name in the Destiny community lore-wise, or big title, big term, in the lore community of Destiny, was finally mentioned as an actual expansion title, so everyone was kind of geeking over that. And no one really considered the reasons as to why they did this. For most of the time, from what I heard, people were just thinking that, you know, they just said one more campaign, you know, one more expansion, then we'll be done. What actually happened, like I said, was that they basically pushed all the stuff they wanted to do in Lightfall, the final battle with the Witness, this, that, and they pushed it back to Final Shape. But that left Lightfall feeling pretty bare bones. So they had to figure out a way to basically fill out Lightfall so it wouldn't be, you know, a wasted expansion. Because they either had to cancel Lightfall or find something to fill in the blanks. So they basically did this. Strand, which we got in Lightfall, according to the leak again, was meant to be part of Witch Queen. And this I actually didn't theorize about. This was part of the leak specifically, this part. Beyond Light, or not Beyond Light, Witch Queen was meant to have Strand as a subclass we would get as well, along with Deep Sight. And if you kind of see the narrative and kind of how Strand is presented in the game and in the story, it kind of makes sense because thematically they're the same thing. Deep Sight being the ability to create weapons and stuff through memory, and this whole psychic connection, whereas the Strand ability is basically you accessing the psychic weave, and in a way you kind of do something similar to what Deep Sight does in an actual story campaign in the after campaign of Lightfall. So again, that's a side bit, not really a story spoiler, it's just something that happens. It's not big or anything, but so you can kind of see why that would, you know, you can kind of see that as a thing. Not only that, but apparently the massive UI changes that came in Lightfall, this whole massive UI revamp, was also slotted for Witch Queen. But like Strand was pushed forward into Lightfall to essentially fill in the gaps and kind of give Lightfall some meaning. So when people say the campaign of Lightfall focuses too heavily on Strand, the reason for that essentially, again, according to my theory and according to this leak, if they are both true, was that basically the campaign was designed to focus solely around Strand, because without it there really wouldn't be much to the campaign. It probably wouldn't even be half as long as it was. Because Strand, like I said, was made the focal point of Lightfall just to fill in the fact there was nothing to do in Lightfall. So where does that leave us with Lightfall as a whole? Well, it leaves us with a campaign that again feels like filler. So the question is, well, why didn't Bungie tell anyone it's, well, filler, essentially? And, well, I, again, continuing on my theory, a good reason for that. The reason why Bungie never told anyone it's filler is because, well, look at Bungie where they are right now. They only really have Destiny as a game providing them a profit for the studio. There is no other project they're working on right now that generates profit, let alone at all. Or at all, let alone the one that generates profit. So they really need to sell these expansions to make money. Yeah, they've got the Eververse store in-game, but last I heard, that's never really produced all that much cash for them. I mean, I'm sure it produces some, but not enough to keep a multi-million-dollar studio open, yeah. And it may... Yeah. And I mean, this one is even priced a bit more than most, which even maybe kind of verifies this theory. Especially, like I said, since Bungie is a free-to-play game, or since Destiny by itself is a free-to-play game. So they need to really push these expansions to make money. So they really only had two options. Number one, tell people that the expansion was going to be filler. Which, come clean to everyone's going to be it was going to be filler, kind of like what people think of Shadowkeep. People aren't angry with Shadowkeep despite it essentially filling the same role narratively as what Lightfall did, being a filler expansion. Reason being is that everyone kind of knew that going in. Bungie was pretty open about it in a way, and we all kind of knew that, so we kind of kept our expectations low with Shadowkeep, and therefore, people were more understanding. And there wasn't the massive backlash that Lightfall garnered. But the problem with that going into Lightfall is that, like I said, it's the only source of revenue for them. So yeah, they could have said, hey, it's going to be filler, or hey, we had to push the narrative back, and that'll tweak how we're going to do Lightfall. It might not be as big as you hope. And while, yeah, people like me, maybe people like Justin, I think I can speak for you, people like big Destiny fanatics might still buy the expansion, but think about it in the terms of the average player. Do you think the average player is going to buy an expansion that is not going to be as big or impactful as something like the Witch Queen, especially considering the Witch Queen was only last year? Probably not. They might just, keep their money for the bigger expansion Lightfall, or for the bigger expansion Final Shape. And I can kind of sympathize with this opinion because this is the same relationship I have with things like Elder Scrolls Online. I don't buy every expansion. I just buy the ones that I think are the biggest and the most interesting. So that might not seem like a lot, but when you think about it in the terms of the standard player, guess how that might lose them millions upon millions of dollars in standard player revenue for that expansion. That's a lot of money going out the door. They can't afford to do that because that would really hurt their future prospects, among other things. Or they have option 2, which is the one they had. Lie to players. Well, not lie, but tell them it's going to be big, but hype up the other aspects of the expansion and not really tell people that it's going to essentially be filler. Yes, this is a little bit of a bait and switch technique, I admit, but they really kind of had business-wise no other choice. It was either tell people that the expansion was going to be filler, the hardcore players would have bought it, but a good chunk of casuals probably wouldn't have, and a lot of their profits would have gone out the door. Or tell people that it's going to be big and be this thing, and kind of pull a bait and switch. Yes, technically, it is a bit of, like I said, bait and switch, and it is a little scummy in a way. But like I said, business-wise, they really didn't have much of a choice. Funny enough, Bungie has also said that by 2025 they want a new IP, and at the time people were wondering, is this going to be the end of Destiny? Well, when you take into account Lightfall, and again, if this mad theory of mine is correct, it probably won't. And again, in a previous video, we even touched upon why that won't be. But to summarize, Bungie knows the value of Destiny, and it's a 10-year game. It's making them way too much money, and it's way too big a franchise for them to suddenly pull the plug to go work on, I don't know, a Call of Duty clone. So it's very unlikely. In business, you have a term in stocks called diversification. Now, what am I talking about stocks for in a video about Bungie and their narrative?
He's a stocks person.
Not to question.
Possibly, but there is relevance, I assure you. There is relevance. So basically this term comes from the idea that if you put all of your money or all your eggs in one basket, and this is kind of where the term also don't put all your eggs in one basket comes from, if that basket breaks, or in the case of the stocks, if that stock tanks, well, you just lost all your money. So the concept of diversification comes in the idea of putting your money in different things so that if one isn't doing so good, the other can make up the loss somewhat. What this has to do with Destiny and Bungie as a whole is that, well, it goes back to what I said earlier. They want a new IP by 2025. This is their attempt at diversification. They're not going to pull the plug on Destiny. They just know that they can't keep relying on Bungie Destiny revenue forever. Because they're going to have issues like this, and, well, that might hurt them in the future. And they might have to pull tricks like this in the future if they, have to do continuous revenue only from Destiny in the future. So, essentially what they're trying to do is make a new IP so they can offset some of the risk. They can continue working on Destiny, they can continue working on all the stuff there, but let's say they have an issue like this where, they might have an issue where people don't buy as much because, they tell people it might not be as big as we had originally promised. Well, people won't buy, but that's okay because the new IP can offset some of that profit loss and keep them in the red. Or is it green? Yeah, you get the point. It is in the green. No, regardless, you get the point.
Nice work,
This is their
Guardian.
attempt at diversification to essentially ensure that in cases like this in the future, if it happens, they can offset some of the potential profit loss. Now, there's a lot you can go into with the future of maybe how they might be thinking of Destiny in the future because of this kind of thing as well. There's like a lot of things you can take this theory if you can expand it further, but essentially that's the gist of it. They want a new IP to offset the losses of things like Lightfall, because otherwise they have to kind of do what they did with Lightfall and essentially promise a big expansion but deliver a small expansion, all in the hopes of bringing people through the door. Because if people don't buy, they don't make money. And right now, if they don't make money on Destiny, they ain't making money, period. Which for them is a very bad thing.
Excuse me, why can't I do this? I'm the top scorer. Excuse me, why can't I give commendation? Game.
Backing to Justin trying to figure out how to work the commendation system.
Well, no, I know how it works. It just won't let me click on the other guy. It's like, click on player to give commendations. I can't. Why won't you let me?
Glitch discovered. Bungie fix.
Glitch detected. Glitch detected.
An alarm goes off in Bungie's like R&D team. The bug fixing team at Bungie just has like an alarm go off. But anyways, that's essentially the gist of the theory. Which basically summarizes to Lightfall feels like filler because it was designed to, because they essentially had to rearrange how Lightfall was going to work narratively almost at the last second to essentially ensure there was a campaign, and they had to pull Strand into Lightfall even though that wasn't originally the plan. They had to pull the UI into the Lightfall even though that wasn't originally part of the plan, all in the hopes of giving Lightfall some meat so it wouldn't feel, empty, even though it kind of already felt empty, at least narratively. So there you have it. And that leaves us, like I said, with the possibility of diversification and da-da-da-da-da. So yeah, that's generally my theory around Lightfall. I've been thinking about this theory for the better part of a week now. For almost a week now. Probably a week as of tomorrow, actually, because I literally thought about this the afternoon after I finished the campaign. Or the night, I should say. But yeah, that's more or less how I think Lightfall wound up in the position that it did narratively. I don't think the narrative team failed, because I hear again a lot of people saying, how could the same team that made Witch Queen make this expansion? It feels so barren by comparison, da-da-da-da-da. Like I said, I don't think the narrative team are really to blame all that much. Don't get me wrong, they could have done things better. They certainly could have. We could all do things better, but I really don't like using that kind of critique because of that reason. You can do better, yeah? Well, we can always do better. So I kind of don't like using it for that reason, but you get what I'm trying to say. They kind of did the best they had with the time they were provided. Or at least they tried as best as they could, hopefully.
They did what they could.
They did what they could. And that is how we wound up with Lightfall. So knowing all of that, let's open it up. Would you sound off in the comments? Would you have bought Lightfall had you known it may very well have been filler? Let's test my theory a little bit, shall we? Well, let's test it right now. Justin, would you have bought Lightfall with this information in mind?
No, I wouldn't go for the deal that I can go and get like seasons and all that all at once. I'm not happy with everything, with it all being exactly what it is.
Taken blight?
I'd still would have paid.
The Shadow Legion are forcing.
That's the thing, right? Me and Justin we're part of that hardcore fan base. We'd probably have bought it regardless of if it was filler or not, simply because we're going to be playing it beyond the expansion.
About it too is the fact that I have a job.
Taken are relentless.
Yeah.
Especially under the Witness's control. We need to
Yeah.
get in there and stop them.
That too. But for the more casual player who, isn't a hardcore Destiny fanatic and who doesn't have almost, if not more than 1,000 hours in the game like we very much do, that would be a different question, and most likely a different answer, probably no. Which, like I said, sound off in the comments. Would you have bought it if you are a casual player? Would you have bought it? Let's test my theory. But yeah, that's generally the gist of where Lightfall is right now. What time are we at, Justin? Fair enough.
30 minutes.
Ooh, that's good. That's very good. Right then. For the sake of length and brevity, we might, or for the sake of length and, well, just courtesy, I suppose, actually, we could end it here. Leave with one final comment as to how Lightfall went in our opinion. Let's see, we touched on Strand, we touched on Theory, we touched on the campaign, touched on Season of Defiance. There's nothing I really can't say beyond this point that wouldn't go past our former disclaimer of it being spoilers, so
Follow those tapes.
yeah, no, I think we might just end it here. What do you think?
Hey, Guardian?
I think I might
I'm not sure
finish
just
this
how much damage
this
these
mission
taken can
first.
do, but hopefully we can.
Well, where are you in the mission?
The Cloud Arc is built on the energy field produced
Somewhat
by the
around
Veil.
halfway now.
It's resilient.
All right, we
but
can
not
wait,
impenetrable.
kill some time,
A backdoor
give
might
you
be
guys some.
possible.
Any other thoughts or
Maybe
theories
getting
on
rid of whatever is at the center of this will also
Mhm.
help our Vex problem.
But yeah, no. Also, you can tell us in the description. What do you think of my theory? Do you think it's legit? You think I'm just? You think I'm full of it? You think I just pulled this out of my arse? Sounds like Swedish chef right there.
Here's your point.
But but yeah, no. It is funny though because I literally read this article while I was coming out of the college that I'm attending. Literally as I was leaving, I saw this article and I'm like, well, crud. Somebody beat me to it, and I only just had the theory for what, a day or two at that point, and it was still like a Wednesday or a Thursday, so I had the chance to post our theory, so I didn't want it to feel like we were just like leeching off
We
this
can't
quote.
let more of them form.
I do assure you that I did come up with this prior to the article, which again, article link in the description if you want to read it yourself and kind of see where I'm pulling this kind of information. But if anything, this article possibly verifies my theory, so we'll see. Funny enough, Game Rant themselves even says the article, excuse me, that we're likely to hear one way or another if there's any truth in this or not from Bungie ever. So we can only just speculate at this point. Maybe, I don't know, maybe years down the line, some Bungie dev will kind of, you know, break the silence and maybe in like some off interview mention this and come clean with it, but I can't imagine in the foreseeable future we'll get any clear answer one way or the other, so don't hold your breath on it. Because I know some people have been saying, like, you know, Bungie should apologize. I don't know. Don't hold your breath on that one. Well, I mean, like I said, if what we've said is true, then they would essentially have to admit to essentially, like I said in the theory, essentially kind of a bait and switch technique. So that wouldn't look good. In fairness, they didn't really ever. They never really said. Well, no, they did. Do you think they said in their marketing materials, like, did you get the impression that Lightfall was going to be big narratively? What do you think?
I more got the feeling of it being very cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a lie in the sense of you did get what you were expecting in the sense of you're going to a city and you're going to be doing like a whole bunch of stuff there.
Yeah. So maybe not so much of a bait and switch and more of just kind of like, you know, they didn't lie per se, but they didn't tell you everything.
It doesn't feel that way.
Yeah. So there you have it, I suppose. But anyways, yeah. There is the video. Yeah, put that. Insert the Family Guy meme with like Peter just backing into the bushes. And so I disappear for another week.
I will return. Skeletor will return for
Skeletor.
Skeletor.
Soon. Join us next week and see what happens next. Join us. Oh, it's like the Dragon Ball Z meme. Join us next week and find out what happens on Dragon Ball Z.
My boy, POV play with sword too often.
Oh, what did you do?
Blew myself up.
No. You play with sword too often.
Play with sword. Getting too much sword EXE footage lately.
I mean, in fairness, when it comes to your playstyle, it's not entirely a bad thing because they have redone the orbs of power, so they are much more of a viable option.
I'll say this for what it is. Orbs are like so much better now, being that you can go and like spec yourself into generating them for every single kill. So I can go and generate an orb for every single knife. Pair that with the knife that I can go and generate back every time I get a kill in the first place. And,
Yeah.
yeah, you can see why it's pretty good.
There you go. I mean, since they're not bringing back more mind cells, I have to substitute it somewhere. By the by, on the topic of narrative, I mean, campaign narrative and post-campaign narrative. Post-campaign narrative does expand on Neomuna and the Cloud Striders a bit more. But I will say this, and this is not spoilers, this is just a buyer be warned. If you're expecting an explanation on the Veil, don't hold your breath.
Yeah, don't expect an explanation anytime soon.
We get a comparison, but that's the best we can, because they compared it to arguably the second biggest mystery in Destiny.
This is the access point.
They're like, the Veil is the same thing as this other thing, and everyone's like, cool, but what was the other thing?
I mean,
We don't know what that thing is either.
End up making it feel like it ties it in the sense of, okay, well, this is what this is. So that's probably explaining why we are all in the state that we are, even though, despite the fact that the big thing has happened, we all should be in bigger trouble than we really are, but we're not.
That's the thing, it's weird. Bife even mentioned
like,
in a video.
I'll say this, like, in the story after the campaign, a big thing does happen, and you think, oh, okay, we're all screwed now or something. No. It's very
No.
anticlimactic, so, yeah.
That's the thing, right? And like I was gonna say, even Bife says in a video, like, you get more explanation in some cases in the post-campaign, in sometimes completely random moments, than you do in the actual campaign, which is... Like I said, the narrative team tried with what they had, I suppose. They were... I guess they couldn't figure out how to put in the narrative in time, I don't know, maybe. Who knows? Like I said, I'm not trying to dissect the narrative too deeply, because there's really nothing I can't say that people like Mylan, people like Bife, people like Tassie, people like anyone else in this community have not said 100 times already, so... There's really nothing I can say that will add to this there's really nothing we could say that would add to this conversation, so we will refrain from saying it simply for the sake of needless repetition. I just felt that this theory was worth getting out there because I haven't heard, at least as of the recording of this video, anyone else talking about this. So, like, the whole, like, retrospective of how Lightfall wound up the way it did. Don't get me wrong, like I said, people are very, very talkative as to Lightfall in general, but not so much as the how we might have gotten here kind of route, if you know what I mean. So, eh. But anyways, how's that mission coming?
Boss is kind of dying, but we're still waiting for... Okay, there we go.
What mission are you on? I never even questioned.
Mission.
Mission. What mission? Mission. Very good. Oh. What, in the campaign?
No, not even.
Oh.
Not like that.
Yeah, I'm like, well, no spoilers. Spoilers for the spoilers. Oh, we're going to a campaign mission. Huh? What happened to no spoilers?
Yes.
Yeah, on stream when we say we're not going to do any spoilers, we're going to live stream the final boss battle. Or final boss battle. Legit, though. But anyways. So yeah, that's the video. That's our thoughts on the Lightfall campaign, and like I said, if Justin will have nothing to say, I'll shut up here.
As we go and begin to get swarmed
Well, as you like to say, that sounds like a you problem.
well, was a new problem.
How are we gonna beat all the enemies? Pulls out rocket launcher, fires. What enemies?
It's so overpowered. Oh no, balls of energy are coming towards me. Hurt me.
I feel like most of this, this video was us explaining the campaign, us doing things, and then the second half will just be you playing through a campaign mission randomly, or playing through a mission,
Suddenly in the middle.
or playing through some mission. You never did tell me what mission you were playing through.
It's a strike.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Strike playlist.
I didn't know if you were still in the strike playlist. I'm not
Yes,
watching the stream.
Still in strike playlist.
I'm not watching Steam.
Yes. Alright. Well, I will quickly, before leaving, actually, let me do commendations real quick.
You know what?
I am a nice person. I always give. I don't care if nobody gives to me, but I will give.
No. You know, before we go, I will say this. That did remind me. It's a real quick thing. People, they implemented the commendation system. In theory, it was a good idea, but here's the problem. They also tied a 30 commendations a week prime weapon you can get if you give 30 commendations at least within a week, and that's every week. So
Yes.
you play the missions and they just spam commendations at each other just for the sake of getting the weapon. So
Yes.
It's a great idea in practice, but
it doesn't really do anything. It's like, oh,
doesn't
it's
really
gonna
do
help
anything.
people know who they're playing with. Oh wow, I didn't know everyone was so friendly and like, literally. Oh wow, I didn't know everyone was so thoughtful and joy bringer. Like,
I mean, don't get
literally
me
the
wrong. I
two
feel
common
like
things you get in the strike.
this would work way better in something like a raid
Yes.
or maybe a dungeon
Well,
where
yeah,
people have
like-
to spend time
like,
together.
The 2 leadership badges you can get in raids and dungeons, and then the other one is raids, dungeons, and all non-matchmaking higher difficulties. So literally
Yeah.
only through playing with direct friends.
Yeah.
And
I feel like
then the mastery
even not direct
is
friends.
trials, raids and dungeons, gambit, and crucible.
even then, even if they weren't friends, even just playing through raids, you have to deal with people, so it's a lot more of a honest review instead of the end of a strike playlist where no one talks to each other and everyone just spams commendations at each other for the sake of a weapon.
Yeah, like literally the only ones that you're likely to never really don't really bother thinking about are the joy and the joy bringer and the thoughtful, because those are the two that you'll find in Vanguard ops or strikes. Like you find them both in battlegrounds, dares, offensives, Vanguard ops, and Empire and Nightmare hunts.
I mean, don't get me wrong, you're gonna find somebody who doesn't give out commendations at all if they don't need to out of principle.
Mhm.
Like, there's gonna be that one sour dude who doesn't give out any commendations unless they are earned.
Overwatch. Imagine
I hate Overwatch. I'm not giving those memories back. Or it's like you give someone a thoughtful. Why'd you give them a thoughtful? They revived me once.
Yeah.
I died and they brought me back once.
I kept dying and they kept bringing me back. They didn't have to, but they did.
They did. That's not thoughtful. That's just tolerable at that point.
Yes.
They have tolerance for me.
Well, I'll quickly go over the journey and the Guardian ranks real quick, because this does seem like something that is important for anyone who cares about loadouts. Right now, Guardian ranks, for anyone who's played the game before, is very well likely to be rank 6. And if you want to get rank higher, you need both the campaign and seasonal activities in order to do the challenges in order to rank up. And
most likely the raid later on.
Yeah, and probably probably 10 or 11 is probably going to be the raid. But from what I've heard, chances are you're probably going to be booted back down to 6 every season. So,
yeah, no, that's a thing. That is a thing.
That is one thing not too many people are too happy about. That it's like, oh, I could grind all the way to 11 and I'd be booted back down to 6.
That's the thing, right? It really doesn't show you who's been in the game the longest. I mean, if you've been playing for any time, you'll be putting 6 off the bat. Though I feel like it's not like, don't get me wrong, that critique about the bumping back down to 6 every season, I do think is valid. But when it comes to like its immediate effects, because I know people like again referencing Tennessee a lot, but he says like all you see right now is people who are 6. Well, yeah, because we just started a new season and expansion. Give it a few weeks, maybe a month or so, and we'll see about that point. I feel like the whole Guardian ranks thing needs to be properly dissected in say like
Yeah,
2 or 3 months
I'll say
time when
this
there's
for
time
what
to
it
produce.
is. Chances are it is literally every rank just unlocks you a new save point for your loadouts, and the
I think
ranks
all
just
of
get
them are already
reset.
unlocked.
No, there's 6 that you get because you're rank 6, and you get 6 slots. But there's 8, 9,
Oh,
10,
so there's more unlocked. Okay. Because I'm thinking at rank 6, if that's the permanent rank everyone will stay at once they get it, you'd think you'd tie all the unlocks to the permanent ones and not the reset every season thing.
Yeah, and I mean, frankly, like, if I'm being honest, literally 6 is more than enough. Like, you can see here, I've got a stasis build, I've got a void build, I've got a strand build, and I've got 2 solar builds. Like, that's it. I I
Mm.
I I,
I
I
didn't
have
bother with builds.
I have set builds for all the subclasses. That way, I can enjoy playing the subclasses. Like,
I mean, they did replace what they put in the commendation system, right? They basically substituted what it was originally, which was, well, technically, if you want to go way back originally, it was technically level, but at some point everyone was just 50, so they made it season rank.
yeah.
Which, I mean, yeah, resets every season because it's the season rank, and that shows you near the end of the season who's been playing and who's not. But you also get issues at the beginning of a season where people will just like bulk save on bounties from previous season, will just cash them all in the beginning of the
No,
season
no,
to
and
just
that
skyrocket their
that
rank.
no, I can understand, and I can understand the need for like a separate ranking system type of thing. But in my opinion, this is how I think the ranking system should have gone, because I've read through all
Mm.
of them so far, like even 8, 9, 10, 11. Those ones have actually been leaked on what's required, and this is what my opinion on how I think it should have gone. Rank 1, 2, and 3 should have been new lights, where rank 1 is your initial rank when you first started playing the game. Rank
Well, let's
2
not get too
is.
bogged down in details, though. We'll also be sitting here for
Well,
another
no,
hour
yeah, no,
dissecting Guardian
I'm,
ranks.
I'm just gonna go through it real quick.
Alright.
Literally 2 is you've actually started playing the game. 3, you've played some strikes and maybe a campaign or something. 4 to 6, maybe 7 is like you've actually started playing the things. You've played maybe Beyond Light. You played Witch Queen. Like you're actually playing the campaigns and stuff. Then everywhere from 8 to 11 is you're starting to play the much more harder content. You've played raids, you've played Gambit, you've played Crucible, and you've done like a lot of raids and dungeons. Like,
Yeah.
it makes sense if that's how it goes, because that's really the progression of Destiny and Destiny 1, where it's literally been you're new light, you're going your way through strikes and stuff, you're slowly building up, and then eventually you start gaining enough power to do raids, and you're constantly doing raids, and you're very strong now. Like,
Mm.
that's literally the progression. That's how I feel like it should go, because that's literally how it goes.
Mm. Like I said, we'll see in about a few months' time how effective this is.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I can get it in a way. Like they don't want to tie it anymore to season rank because we'll find people who just jack their season rank up like the start of the day one, and you'll have people who are 100 day one because they just bulk saved on bounties for like 2 months.
Yeah.
So I get it because then it kind of more accurately shows who's been putting in the work and who's not just bulk saving stuff, because you actually have to do stuff that requires time in order to pull up the rank. And once you get beyond 6, it really is more of a how much seasonal stuff are you participating in. So it kind of fulfills the same rank season ranks did. So I don't know, but we'll see. There's always time to change it and patch it later. I mean, we technically, if memory serves, haven't even gotten that LFG feature that they promised would come in, to my knowledge at least.
Yeah.
So
I feel like the
we'll see.
LFG might come after next week, because like, what is it?
Yeah.
Not the first week, but the second or third week the raid comes in.
The raid is this Thursday,
Okay, so
I believe.
so tomorrow.
No, tomorrow is Wednesday. No, tomorrow's Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's this Thursday that it'll come in.
Okay, so after Wednesday.
Sometime after Wednesday, possibly.
Okay. Well then, it might. I don't know. Maybe it will come this week. I don't know. I don't know where it's supposed to be put though.
I mean, we know, like I said, it'll come. The raid itself this week will come out, or
Yeah,
this.
yeah. I
Which
know.
will come out
I
the
know the
30th,
raid.
so maybe around there.
Yeah, I know the raid's gonna be around the corner here, but I don't know where the LFG and all that will be put.
Mm. Maybe that was stuff for later. Like they said, they'll bring it in, but maybe that's a later in the season thing they're hoping to bring in, or possibly later in the seasons, plural.
Maybe.
But who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
We will see. There's always the TWAB this week, which will be on the raid day itself, actually. So maybe they'll mention it there. Would be certainly quite fitting.
Yes. Actually, real
For-
quick, I'm going to tell people something, because I've told people this in the past, and it is good strategy for anyone who is a new light and or wanting legendary shards. The
All right, fair enough.
The Amanda Holiday. Thank you, Destiny, for error coding me. The Amanda Holiday thing where you could go and give her transmat, like rare transmat effects, and get legendary transmat effects, that has been pushed over to Rahul. So if you want to do that strategy, literally just run over to Rahul and say, all right, here's my rare transmats. Give me legendary transmats. Like, don't worry, it's not gone. A lot of people freaked out because they didn't see Amanda and thought, oh no, Bungie's nerfing the legendary shard market. No, you're fine. It's still there.
And this has been How to Print Money with Justin Groff.
No, literally, they're just dumping everything onto Rahul. Rahul is
They have to
literally
give-
everything. He is the
They have to
gambler.
give Rahul meaning.
He is the arms dealer. He is the black market. Like, he is literally
Yeah, no, Rahul's like 60 different schemes in the background we're not aware of.
Rahul, the poor man, is literally like, I just want to decrypt shit. Stop giving me more
I
things.
wanna
than you
decrypt-
do." Like, he has sparrows,
I mean,
he has ships, he has all these different deals that you can get from him, and he's got the exchange gear options, my boy.
I mean, you can still buy ships from Amanda, but yeah, Amanda the vendor feels like she's been made relevant.
I don't think Amanda is even on the tower anymore, period.
Oh no, she is.
She is?
I believe I saw her.
Oh.
Yeah, I believe I saw her.
Oh, okay. Well, I
I'll have to go check that though.
Last time I ran over, I didn't see her, but still, you can buy ships and the low level ships and vehicles and whatnot from Rahul now. So.
Really?
Yes.
Now I'm gonna have to go check that like right now. You know that, right?
Yeah,
I did not see that last I was there this morning, but
you should be hitting that arrow tab more often, my friend.
I mean, hey, the only time I go to the tower is to get rid of the obscene amount of prime engrams we have. But anyways, we'll cut it there, otherwise we'll be here all day. And I know we're trying to keep this video short because otherwise no one will watch them.
Yes.
So, anyways, that's the report.
Enjoy the new view of the tower, and hopefully you enjoy this new expansion so far.
I know, they brought out the entire army. But anyways, like, how many ships do we need? All of them.
I mean, the AI do keep talking about, oh, you want to know what I should do? I'd build more ships. Build more ships? Alright, well, here's your ships.
Here's your ships. I mean, in fairness, there's barely any human ships among them. It's all basically a mixture of Awoken, Cabal, and Elixir.
Insert Lightfall first cutscene here, where all the ships are being destroyed.
I know, it's like all of the humans lost their army, so all of the Awoken have to be like, okay, fine, take ours.
It's like, alright, you fine, we'll all be...
It's been several years since Taken King. They've had time to build up their fleet again. In fairness, though, when it comes to the Elixir, somehow Mithrax has got himself a hand on several catches. I'm not sure where he did that.
Well, right now, I am looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 catches. 7, 8 catches.
I mean, I'm guessing in Season of the Plunder, we just started pilfering catches. Like, Spider even alludes to the fact we've been scrapping catches. Oh, gosh. I mean, in Season of the Plunder, Mithrax and like Spider specifically even says that they're scrapping catches and they're sending crews. So maybe those are all just like the Season of the Plunder catches that we've amassed throughout that season that we're putting to use.
Like, I'd be willing to bet initially during the Season of the Plunder, Spider had 2 catches and then Mithrax had his one on his own. And it makes sense that the Awoken might have 1 or 2 lying around. So it makes sense that, again, that we might go and take like a few from the guys that we beat the hell out of.
I mean, we basically cleared their ships out, and maybe some of them surrendered. I mean, in the lore, it said that like a lot of people are defecting as of last season from House Salvation as well. So these
Well, if
might
they
also
weren't
be some of
defecting a whole
Aramis's ships.
bunch during Beyond Light, they're really defecting now.
Yeah,
Especially
no,
after
it's
seeing the whole turn into Scorn thing.
There's the Scorn alternative, and then there's the other alternative.
There's the
Which do you
alternative where
prefer?
I get to keep my skin.
Yeah, keep my skin, or carapace in their case, I guess.
Their carapace is still their skin.
Yeah, fair enough. But regardless, anyways, we'll leave it there.
Hopefully you will
Otherwise we'll
enjoy
be
it,
here
and
all
we'll see
day.
you in the next one.
Yep, see you next week, guys. Later.
Sarah Elementary, jump off the tower.
The ritual.